This is MRC Uncensored. I'm Dan Schneider. I have a guest who has not just been fighting at the not-for-profit level like we do here at the Media Research Center against big tech censorship and all other sort of nefarious organizations out there trying to destroy our freedom, but Erik Prince has been fighting all enemies, foreign and domestic, his entire adult life. He was a Navy SEAL, heroically fought against terrorists for our whole country, and more recently, he is one of the co-founders of Unplugged Technology. Is that the right name?
That's right.
Unplug Technology. This is a unique way to fight against big tech. We fight with members of Congress to try to get them to change the laws to protect our freedoms against big tech overreach and censorship. You have invented something that nobody else has, both the hardware of a phone and the operating system to fight against big tech. I want to talk about how terrible big tech is and how wonderful your phone is, but let's do this in an interesting way. Which is worse, big tech censorship or compared to what the benefit of your phone is? Which way do we go here?
This goes back to really surveillance capitalism, which is the most profitable business model in the history of mankind. This idea that if you're not paying for something, you're not the customer, you're the product. And so we have become the product of these 4 or 5 super major big tech companies, and they control and they use it effectively to collect everything you do digitally. Every call you make, everywhere you go, what you browse, what you buy, who you interact with, to the point of being able to turn on a microphone, camera, GPS on your device and monitor and listen to effectively even further target the message so they can sell better advertising. Surveillance capitalism has made those companies, I think the combined market cap of the 5 or 6 largest companies, you were just saying, was larger than the 3rd or 4th largest economy in the world.
Right, right. If you take the market cap of those 4, fangs as we used to call them, they would be the 3rd largest country in the world, behind only the United States and China.
So with that comes enormous power, because they literally can control what gets put in front of you for viewing, for news, for interaction, for preferences. They have enormous money to spend in Washington, D.C. and in Brussels and everywhere else to influence public policy, to insulate themselves, to crush their rivals. And I think that really, it was very clear to me how much big tech was in the bag for the left in 16, and then especially in 20, and especially after the election when they were canceling certain voices that they didn't like, that were opposed to their big government narrative. And after that happened, I basically had an angry phone call with a couple friends of mine saying, what the hell are we going to do? We're not going to change big tech by bitching about it. We're only going to change it by competing. And so we had a tech team together already that have been working on a cyber unlock for forensics. And it turns out that our CTO, our Chief Technology Officer, was a guy that developed a very capable phone virus for hacking, but he did it as a way for phone companies to do remote service. If you have a problem, they send you a text, you click on the text, they take over your phone remotely, and then leave. But when it became offensive, when it became known as Pegasus, he left, and he built a phone, a highly secure government phone, and then he actually went on to build a phone that controls most of the world's pacemakers. Mm-hmm. So if you go to the OR, open up, it's his device with the pacemaker, because you obviously can't have that hackable.
Right.
Extremely dangerous. It was actually, when Dick Cheney was vice president, that was the Secret Service's biggest threat vector, was someone hacking his pacemaker.
And right now, Google and Apple, like any phone you buy on the market today, it's either running on an Apple operating system or a Google operating system.
Google Mobile Services. Google Mobile Services runs on all Android devices, and there's a lot of Google apps that get onto an Apple device, and with that, they collect everything.
Yeah. But if you own a Samsung, an LG, an Amazon phone, that's all
Mobile-
Google.
Google Mobile Services.
You can buy the Google phone, it's all Google,
Yes.
unless it's Apple.
Yes.
And finally, there's a real alternative. In fact, there are some other conservatives who have built phones, but they're still operating on a Google system, correct?
Correct. We doing it just not an app, not just software. You have to control the process down to the root of hardware. Hardware built to our spec. This is actually made in Indonesia at a Singaporean facility with our operating system, our code. It's based on the Android kernel, but we have no Google Nexus or access in the phone at all. And we have thousands of apps that run on an Android kernel, whether it's banking or sports or airlines or navigation or whatever, but we don't have any of the means of collecting. The biggest issue is this phone doesn't have an advertising ID, and it actually has a firewall. So you can hard off and block. You can see it's actually called a privacy center.
Yeah.
Where you can hard off and block the Bluetooth, the Wi-Fi, the
privacy center.
correct, where we block all the ad trackers and all the injects that even if you go to a browser on your phone, they put in all kinds of cookies and you're just constantly being tracked. We're actually doing a study right now comparing our phone to the other guy's phones and watching them at night. Because that phone will probably make a 50 to 100 megabyte dump every night. Okay, there'll be a spike in the middle of the night of transmission coming out of that phone, and that's literally like reporting back to the mothership all of your activities for the day.
Yeah.
Staggering. Not this one. So, look, it's not for everybody, but for people that are sick of the pervasive surveillance of Big Brother, and now, with Congress, just a couple weeks ago, passing not just a FISA extension, but a massive FISA enlargement. Because what the federal government has been doing is had a very cozy relationship with big tech, all too cozy.
They've been paying big tech gargantuan sums of money from the very outset.
Yes, the federal government is collecting in ways that a human intelligence person cannot even imagine 25 years ago.
Right.
To type match everything you're doing. A kid in America, by the time they reach the age of 13, has had 72 million data points collected on them already by big tech. Now that belonged to big tech. But now with the FISA enlargement that the left voted for, and shockingly a lot of Republicans did, it basically allows the federal government, any agency can go to big tech and demand they turn over that data, any messages, photos, anything they have without a warrant and without probable cause. Just one federal investigator with a bone to pick wants to go on a fishing expedition to dig into your life, they have carte blanche to do it. This is the only thing that protects that kind of digital sovereignty.
Yeah, in recent months, we've learned through investigative journalism that the U.S. government is purchasing our private information from big tech.
Yes.
Now, I've talked with lots of young people who know that they're being tracked, who know that their data is being taken by big tech. And young people don't seem to care about it. They just think that that's life. But let me ask you this. If the U.S. government is buying this data from Google and Facebook and Apple, et cetera, why can't the Chinese government do the same?
100%. Yes, because it's just data brokers. I can show you where to go with $1,000 in a credit card, and you can buy that data as well.
Yeah. Now,
I would be shocked if Hamas was not using ad data on all of southern Israel as part of their pre-attack planning before their October 7 attack.
And look, this is scary for our national security purposes. Lots of people don't understand or appreciate this, but you were a Navy SEAL.
Long time ago.
Foreign governments can buy data and then know where our SEALs are. They can know whether they're in San Diego today.
Without even having to check a satellite image, they can know which ships are in town and which ones are not.
Right. They can know where any kind of unit in the military is that people are using a phone.
Exactly. Because the exhaust that phone gives off is extensive and pervasive and commercially available. And now with the FISA extension, government doesn't have to pay for it anymore. They can just demand it.
Yeah, and we've seen that recently where the U.S. Treasury Department has demanded that banks disclose who's shopping at Cabela's, who's
Yes.
shopping at Bass Pro,
Yes.
who's shopping at Gander Mountain, who's also bought a Bible, or who's bought ammunition.
In the same way they can track, with ad data, they can track who goes to the Dulles Expo Center gun show on a weekend. They can even track down
They can
to
just
that
ask
level of
me,
grading.
I'd say yes many times.
Yes, but I mean, that's the level of digital exhaust you're giving off. And I think, well, I was ready for alternative because I've been, I've seen the pervasiveness of an overreaching bureaucratic superstate.
Yeah.
And you know, in the same way, if you think about the paradigm of hard money versus inflationary fiat money that we're kind of used to, and now we're used to constantly a constant degradation of the purchasing power of money. Okay, and who benefits? Government power benefits, elites benefit. And in the same way, with the surveillance capitalism, where young people are conditioned. Why do you think they're conditioned to that? Because they're fed that continuous unhealthy loop from big tech that it's okay. You're not really losing your privacy. We're enhancing your efficiency of your life or whatever with your smart home or with your Alexa listening in your kitchen every day. They're conditioned to that, and their money, their wealth, their power, their influence over you controls and grows, compounds daily. So it's, look, we had to do something, and now we have a device which allows people to reclaim their digital sovereignty. I'm a big advocate of the First Amendment. I'm a big advocate of not having some woke 25-year-old in Silicon Valley decide who can be on their app store and not, and who can be zeroed out. I read 1984 as a kid.
Yeah.
If your audience hasn't read it, read 1984, and you'd be shocked at the parallels of today.
Here, let me jump in. You can look at Microsoft, Google, Apple, Facebook, these giant big tech firms, others out there as well. They compete with each other all the time. They sue each other all the time. But they're happy that they're all in this battle together. They're happy to divide up the market amongst themselves. What they are not willing to tolerate are new entrants. They will not tolerate you. They will not tolerate Parler. They will shut them down. So before you arrived here today, I intentionally used the Google search engine, Erik Prince phone, and a whole bevy of terrible articles. Google will feed people about you.
Yep.
Google does not want you to exist. Google does not want people buying your phone. Google does not want to be denied access to the data that it uses. Now, here's what I don't understand, and you can help me with this. Is Google's primary motivation money, or is its primary motivation to change society in its own image?
To change society into its own image.
I think so. You look at how Google is managed from the CEO on down, it's terrible. It's a terrible management structure, terrible. But they're making money hand over fist because they were the first entrant. But they seem to be more focused on changing and altering the world than on trying to improve its own operating systems, its internal operating structure.
I completely agree with that. And it's frightening, and we're here to be a guerrilla, a guerrilla combatant against that kind of hegemony.
Mm-hmm. So then artificial intelligence enters the space. And I know this is
programmed with a leftist bias.
Exactly.
Programmed by Google.
Yeah. But I'm very concerned about how AI is being manipulated both by big tech and the Biden administration. Yeah, people don't understand. The Biden administration is basically, has given Google time to try to catch up with some of its competitors in the AI world, specifically because Google uses its AI to alter the universe.
To alter what news you see.
Yeah.
To alter that very reality. The same way that the frog is slowly being boiled in young people that are just not used to being young and free. I mean, look, I spent my 7th birthday in 1976 in East Berlin, and seeing the guns and the dogs and the minefields and the tank traps all facing in, keeping people stuck inside East Germany. For a 7-year-old, it was a very clear education that communism and totalitarianism is not a great thing. If you have a fence up to keep people in, and I will always choose freedom, and freedom of communications and data privacy, to me, is prerequisite. The Founding Fathers were geniuses. They wrote out a clear Bill of Rights, and in this case, it is a unhealthily cozy relationship between big government and big tech that are the real threats to that.
You know, people ask me all the time, what can we do? You know, people in Topeka, Kansas, or Biloxi, Mississippi. And there's some very practical things. Use the Tusk search engine instead of the Google search engine.
Or Brave.
Or Brave. Get your phone instead of the Google phone or the Apple phone. You know, don't bank at Bank of America where they're going to take down your account. Go to someplace like...
Yep. I've been canceled by Bank of America.
Have you?
Sure.
Have you heard of Old Glory Bank? Old Glory Bank is based in Oklahoma.
Okay.
And they're basically the banking version of you.
Well, good. They're probably getting a lot of refugees from the Bank of America or Wells Fargo and the other idiot, poorly run banks. Look, again, big tech, big banks, we have a massive over-cartelization of American industry and the economy. And that's why Teddy Roosevelt is such a favorite president of mine, because he took on the cartels of American industry and broke it up and kept the American dream alive.
Yeah. Well, Erik, you've been fighting for America for a long time. You've been fighting for freedom that benefits the whole world. Thank you for giving us another alternative to being slaves to Google and Apple. You know, this is, how do I get my phone? Where do I go?
The 3.5-year odyssey of idea to prototype to beta. We did 500 phones last fall. So we did a big beta test. It works all over the world, and we just got 10,000 units in, and you can order at unplugged.com.
Unplugged.com. And am I going to have to wait for my phone, or does it ship out quickly?
You'll have it within 2 days.
And then what kind of apps will I be able to use on it?
Thousands of apps, whether it's for your bank, or navigation, or sports, or airlines, or weather, or thousands of the kind of apps that you're used to. We even have a dating app for people that are unvaccinated, which was actually thrown off of the Apple and Google stores as being too controversial. So yes, we are the refuge for people that seek freedom, both communications and digital privacy, medical freedom. Also very good if you use any kind of blockchain, if you have a coin wallet on your phone. Because we don't have an advertising ID, it's very hard for a hacker to find that wallet on your phone, and we control all the endpoints. So it's a very, very difficult phone to hack. We actually did a challenge a year and a half ago at the DEF CON Hacker Conference in Vegas, and we announced a bounty to say, this is the unplugged phone, they're moving around the planet, this is the phone number, and it's passing messages back and forth, which is the unlock code to a wallet of almost $100,000 in Bitcoin. We've had a lot of attempts, but the money's still there. So
wow.
we've kind of crowdsourced our security.
Nice. Well, congratulations. I'm going to go out and get my new phone right away.
If you're sick of big tech breathing down your neck, Unplugged is the answer.
Thanks, Erik.
You bet.
I want to invite you as my guest on a very special, once-in-a-lifetime, 7-day post-election cruise in the Caribbean. It's going to be a blast.